our next guest, Sean Sanchez. He's putting himself out to run for city council because he cares about Fresno.
Absolutely.
Tell us about your race and what you're all about.
Well, I'm the only candidate that's against these mandated property inspections, but my platform basically is safety, education, affordable housing, and neighborhood prosperity, Mike. Thanks for having me on the show, by the way.
Our pleasure.
Safety is the utmost important thing we have to do in District 3. District 3 is kind of a meandering district throughout downtown and along the 99 corridor.
It's got a lot of distinct areas. You've got downtown, you got all of West Fresno, west of 99.
Yes.
It's a giant area and covers a lot of different populations.
And the homeless problem in our district is probably the largest
of any district.
So it's something that we need to handle and tackle. And
if I was homeless, I go up to North Fresno. All the people asking people for money and stuff. I don't know why downtown.
That's where the money's at. But they obviously don't want nobody wants homeless people in their backyard. But that's what we're having to deal with. And displaced families lead to transient living situations. Mm-hmm. Transient living situations leads to homelessness in our district and in the city of Fresno. And the majority of property residences in our district are tenant occupied. Mm-hmm. So this mandated housing inspection has a huge effect.
Hitting District 3 more than any other part of town.
More than any other part of town. So property owners are going to be faced with a forced inspection. Mm-hmm. These inspections, they could say they don't like the texture on the wall. Mm-hmm. They might look at something like the water heater and say, oh, it looks safe, but I need to check the date on the water heater. Well, what's the purpose of that? It's safe, it's strapped. Well, we need to know if you pull permits. Well,
boy.
It's
Well, I always say if it's an inspector's job to find something wrong, they're going to go find something wrong.
Absolutely.
And that's the problem with those kind of. We already have rules and zoning and safety laws on the books.
Right. I think I have a better solution to the issues of this forced mandated inspection process. I believe that having a real estate background, one of the things that I propose is that we have a landlord-tenant bill of rights. And what that does is it spells out, it's a disclosure basically, and it spells out what the landlord's responsibilities are, what the tenant's responsibilities are, how to work out differences. And if you can't work out the differences, then the city should be involved. But the city shouldn't be there forcing themselves. You look at, there's three variables. You have the landlord, the city, and the tenant. And you look at who's the winner, who are the losers in this whole process. The landlord spends sometimes unnecessary money on their property. Mm-hmm. The tenant is faced with, do you want a texture on the wall changed and your rent increased by $200 a month, and the city gets fees. So who's the big winner in all this?
City wins every time.
The city wins every time.
Well, you told me before we came on about an apartment building at $750 a month with families, and the city came through and vacated it, and now it's $12 something a month.
Yeah, that was a property on Huntington Boulevard. That's a shining example of the city's success of gentrification. Mm-hmm. And what they basically did is they came to the property owner and said, you need to spend probably about $1 million in improvements on your property. You have a limited time to do it, impossible time, unreasonable, unrealistic time to do it. And if you don't, we're going to take further action. And they did. They filed a court order to receivership the property. They receivership the property, turned around, flipped it for $2.5 million to a large investor that owns several hundred units in our community that now has the ability to monopolize the rental market. The rents, the first thing that property owner did was kick all the tenants out. So all these tenants that were paying $750 a month rent, they were all uprooted from their permanent housing, put into transient living situations, kids uprooted from their schools. Me coming from a background of I hopped around quite a bit. I was in 20 different families, so hopping around. I went to 3 different high schools, and I'm not a military.
You had some experience.
Yeah. So uprooting from a child from a school where they're comfortable, where they're acclimated to, it's horrific because Now you're going to challenge that kid to not succeed in their education. So this is a ripple effect and affects all my platforms: safety, education, affordable housing, and neighborhood prosperity. But what that property owner did is they kicked out all the tenants, they rehabbed the property. It looks fantastic. And now the rents are $1,250 a month.
And those families are not getting back into those apartments.
They are not getting back into those apartments.
Well, the way you describe this, it's going to end up being a few really rich, big corporations owning all the rental properties. They're the only ones that will be able to compete.
If you look down Clinton or Shields Avenue, right next to towards the airport, I forget Chestnut or Willow. They kind of run into each other, but you'll notice that the gates on some of these properties, they're all kind of similar, and it's like, what's going on here? Well, that's a property owner monopolizing the market, acquiring more and more of the market, able to make the rents 20-30% higher.
Yep.
And that's going to happen in our district, and it's not the right way to gentrify or to improve the neighborhoods.
In a city with a giant homeless problem already.
We're just going to make it worse.
Yeah. So what are you doing? You're going door to door, knocking on the doors? And
I've been going door to door. I've been approaching business owners, letting people know about the city's policies and what they're doing and how it's going to affect them. Most business owners, they do not want homeless people accosting their customers. It scares customers away, and it gives people a bad taste in their mouths. When you go to try to patronize a business and there's homeless people, it deters you or discourages you from going to that business. So
Sure.
You end up saying, well, what's a different area of town I could go in to where I'm not being accosted by homeless people?
There's a gas station in District 3, the district you're running for up there at Olive, and I forget where, but 3 people asked me for money before I even get in the door. You know,
Yes.
So I don't go there anymore. It's exactly what you're saying. It's easier to go somewhere else where you're not.
It's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So yeah, I live by Parkway, so that's a very challenging area. And when I put gas over there, sometimes I avoid putting gas over there at certain times. If I see
People are just going to walk up to you and ask
Right.
you for money, and it's uncomfortable saying no again and again and again.
and giving money to a homeless person is probably the worst thing you could do. You should give to a shelter.
Mm-hmm.
There's five or six different programs we have in our community to helping homeless people. Money is the worst thing you could do to a homeless person because they're not going to use it for the right reasons.
Now, let's say somebody's watching and says, wow, this guy sounds great for District 3. How can I get involved? Where should they start? You have a website?
Yes, I do have a website, sanchezford3fresno.com. I've been self-funding my own campaign, so if you want to get involved, I could always use some volunteers to make phone calls, to walk the neighborhoods with me, looking for any type of volunteers or help out there.
Good. Great guy, Sean Sanchez. Call him up. Go to his website, Sanchez for number 4 D3Fresno.com. Sanchez for D3Fresno.com. It's on the screen. If you can't reach him, call me. I'll give you his direct number.
Yes.
You got to get some help out there. Get Sean some help.
I'll
It's
give
the only
you
way
my-
to get elected is the community coming, getting behind you. And
I'll give you my phone number right now, 559-446-2626.
where's that ring? To some secretary or something?
Well, that's my office number, and
But it comes to you.
It comes to me.
That's
I
great.
forward it over to my cell phone if I'm after hours, and I do have some rental properties. My tenants all have my phone number.
Mm-hmm.
They could all reach me at 24/7. I'm
Wow,
on call.
that
So
is great.
That's how I work
And
it.
that's kind of councilman we need too in District
Yes.
3, 24/7. Anything last thing you want to tell our viewers?
A couple of things affecting my district is the jobs and tax breaks we're giving to some of these large organizations without any kind of promises in return, like promises that those jobs will go back to our community. We're giving tens of millions of dollars to the Gap, which I'm all for enticing or welcoming these businesses, but there's got to be a little bit of strings attached to that.
Sure,
So,
certainly.
and then another thing, like downtown revitalization, we were discussing about this, is we need to have a little bit more carrot than stick. The city's policies are, well, let's send code enforcement down there to crack on these property owners because they're not developing them fast enough. Well, some of these property owners, they do want to develop their properties. We need to offer some incentives and help to help them develop their properties, such as one of the ideas I came up with was a moratorium on reassessments on those properties for, let's say, 10 years, 5 to 10 years, so that the new occupants or tenants aren't hit with large fees or maintenance costs of running their business or occupancy of their residence. Another
give them a 10-year break, or
give them a 10-year break on their fees.
Get them in there, let them start up, get them occupied, and then you could get more fees. But
Mike, one of the things you did to help the Tower District that's I think is booming right now is you helped cut fees in this district. So that's something we need to look at and maybe consider cutting the fees for business owners.
For downtown. And
for downtown.
Make it more attractive to develop there than elsewhere.
Another idea, we invest in the stock market with city employees' funds. Why are we investing in Wall Street? Why aren't we investing in our community? So properties are a secure investment, and why not offer some type of workout or some of those funds to work in our community to help property owners develop their property when banks say no?
Yeah, it's safe when if the city were to lend on a property. I mean, the property's there. You can't pick it up and hide it like a car or something. Yeah. So that's brilliant. Steve Sanchez, he's Sean Sanchez.
That's okay, Mike. No
Sean
problem.
Sanchez, running for city council, District 3. Help him out. Go to Sanchez, the number 4, Sanchez4D3Fresno.com, and tell him your phone number one more time.
559-446-2626.
And this guy will answer the phone himself. You can talk
Yes.
to him. Go help him. Let's get him elected. We'll be back with more Central Valley business right after this.